You've already felt like you're walking in circles, like every step you take requires twice the effort as before, like life is draining you slowly and you don't understand why, because nothing extraordinarily bad is happening, but still you wake up tired. Still you in the day without energy. Still it seems like something inside you is slowly fading away. And you start to wonder if you're losing your strength, if you're failing, if you're regressing, if something is wrong with you. But what if I told you that you're not losing any strength at all, that what you're feeling is not weakness, not failure, not a sign that you're going backwards, but rather the clearest evidence that you're being prepared for something so big, so different, so outside the pattern of what you know, that this something doesn't even exist in your current reality yet. And that's precisely why you feel this way. Because your spirit knows, your soul knows, even though your rational mind doesn't understand yet, that you're crossing an invisible portal, a deep transition, a spiritual metamorphosis that requires you to empty yourself of the old so that the new can be born through you. Think about the caterpillar. It doesn't choose a moment to enter the cocoon. It simply feels. Something inside it recognizes that the time has come, and then it withdraws, closes itself off, stops moving through the world the way it always moved. And if you looked at that caterpillar in that moment, without knowing what's coming, you would think it's dying, that it's losing everything, that it's surrendering. But that's not what's happening. What's happening is a necessary dissolution, a sacred disintegration of everything it was, so that something completely new can emerge. And during this process, it has no strength to do anything else. It can't leave the cocoon. It can't go back to being the caterpillar it was. It's suspended between two worlds, between two versions of itself. And that's exactly what's happening to you now. You're in a cocoon. You're in transition. You're in the sacred space between who you were and who you're becoming. And this space, this interval, this passage, is not comfortable, is not clear, doesn't come with an instruction manual or with an expiration date stamped on your forehead. You feel the fatigue because you're sustaining two realities at the same time. You're carrying the weight of your old self while the new you is still being woven in the invisible depths of your being. And this energetic duplicity is exhausting. It's like trying to breathe underwater while learning to develop gills. You don't yet have complete tools to inhabit the new world that's coming, but you also no longer fit in the old world. So you stay in this limbo, in this intermediate space where nothing makes sense, where your energy doesn't flow like before, where your motivations seem to have evaporated, where even the things you love to do suddenly seem empty, tasteless, purposeless, and you blame yourself for it. You think you're depressed, you think you're losing your essence, but you're not. You're just going through the necessary death that precedes every true rebirth. The universe doesn't waste energy, and if you're being emptied now, it's because something infinitely greater needs space to enter. Think of a glass full of dirty water. You can't fill it with clean water without first pouring out the dirty water. You can't receive the new without releasing the old, and often this process of releasing is not a conscious choice you make all at once. It's a gradual emptying, sometimes painful, sometimes confusing, where pieces of you fall away, where old identities dissolve, where beliefs you've carried all your life suddenly no longer make sense, where relationships that seem solid naturally begin to drift away, where jobs that define you start to seem meaningless, and you're afraid because it seems like you're losing everything, but you're not losing. You're being released. You're being untied from the moorings that prevented your next evolution. This preparation is silent. It doesn't come with fanfare. It doesn't come with immediate clarity. It comes as a persistent whisper that says rest. It comes as a growing need for solitude that isn't depression, but sacred withdrawal. It comes as genuine disinterest in the superficial things that use to distract you. It comes as heightened sensitivity where you cry more easily, where you feel more deeply, where you notice life's subtleties in a way you didn't notice before. And all of this is not a sign that you're breaking. It's a sign that you're opening, expanding, becoming a more refined channel for something the universe wants to bring through you. And refined channels need to be cleaned, need to be calibrated, need to go through a purification process that often feels exactly like what you're feeling now. You're being prepared for something that doesn't exist yet. And let that phrase really sink into you. Doesn't exist in your current reality. Doesn't exist in the life you know now. Doesn't exist in the patterns you followed until now. It's something completely new. Something you've never lived before. Something you may not even be able to clearly imagine yet. And that's exactly why you can't use the strength of your old self to reach this, because the strength of your old self was built for the old world, for the old challenges, for the old version of your journey. But what's coming requires a different strength, a different wisdom, a version of you that's still being forged in the invisible fire of this transition you're crossing now. When you look back on your life, you can identify moments like this before, moments where you felt lost, where you felt directionless, where you thought you were regressing, and then months or years later, you look back and realize that that period of confusion, that period of emptying, was actually preparing you for something that completely changed the course of your life. Maybe it was before you met an important person. Maybe it was before you discovered your true calling. Maybe it was before geographical change or an opportunity that appeared out of nowhere. And when you connect the dots retrospectively, you see that that desert, that valley, that period of apparent stagnation was actually a period of gestation, of incubation, of invisible preparation for something your conscious self couldn't yet see, but your spiritual self was already organizing behind the scenes of your existence. So what do you do now? How do you cross this period without getting completely lost? How do you maintain faith when everything seems to be crumbling or stagnating? First, you stop fighting what you're feeling. You stop trying to force energy that isn't there. You stop blaming yourself for not producing the way you produced before, for not being radiant the way you were before, for not being motivated the way you were before. Because this is a phase of being not doing. It's a phase of listening, not shouting. It's a phase of receiving, not chasing. And this goes against everything the modern world taught you, goes against the culture of productivity, goes against the idea that you always need to be visibly evolving, always need to be conquering, always need to be in motion. But true evolution isn't always noisy, isn't always visible. Sometimes the greatest transformations happen in silence, in stillness, in what externally seems like a pause, but internally is a complete revolution. You honor this process by trusting it even without fully understanding it. You honor this process by allowing the old to go without clutching desperately. You honor this process by creating space for the unknown without trying to fill every second with distraction or with frantic attempts to go back to being who you were. Because you can't go back. The door behind you is already closed, and the door ahead hasn't fully opened yet, but it will open. It's opening right now as you breathe, as you allow, as you release, and when it fully opens, when you pass through it and look to the other side, you'll understand why you needed to cross this valley of shadows. You'll understand why you needed to release so much. You'll understand why the universe emptied you this way. Because what's on the other side is so big, so luminous, so aligned with your deepest truth, that it simply wouldn't fit in the old version of you. You needed to be remodeled, expanded, refined, and that's the work that's happening now, invisible but intensely real. There's ancient wisdom that says before every great elevation comes a great withdrawal. Before every high flight comes a period where the bird folds its wings. Before every external expansion comes an internal consolidation, and you're in this consolidation phase now. You're being recalibrated at levels you're not even aware of. Your energy field is being reorganized. Your frequencies are being adjusted. Your mental and emotional patterns are being reprogrammed. And all of this happens behind the scenes of your waking consciousness. It's work that your higher self is doing in partnership with forces greater than you, and your only task is not to interrupt the process, not to sabotage the process with excessive judgment, with unnecessary haste, with destructive comparison, looking at other people who seem to be flying while you're standing still. Each soul has its own timing. Each journey has its own seasons, and you're in winter now. But winter is not death. Winter is when seeds stay hidden beneath the earth, apparently dormant, apparently inactive, but actually they're absorbing nutrients. They're developing deep roots. They're preparing for the explosion of spring that will inevitably come. And when it comes, when your personal spring arrives, you'll sprout with a strength you didn't even imagine you had. You'll bloom in a way that will surprise even yourself. But this is only possible because of this period you're crossing now, because of this sacred pause, because of this invisible preparation that seems like weakness, but is actually the deepest strengthening that exists. So take a deep breath now. Put your hand on your heart and feel it beating. This heartbeat is proof that you're still here, that you're still in the game, that your story is still being written, and this chapter you're living now, this chapter that seems empty of action, that seems slow, that seems difficult, will be one of the most important chapters when you look back, because it's a chapter where you learn to trust the invisible, where you learn that not every transformation is noisy, where you learn that sometimes the greatest strength is precisely in allowing life to shape you without resistance, in surrendering without giving up, in resting without feeling guilty. And these lessons, This wisdom you're acquiring now in the silent depth of your journey will be the base, the foundation, the groundwork for everything that's to come. What's being prepared for you is something you don't yet have the capacity to carry with your old strength. That's why you're being rebuilt, remade, reborn. And when you emerge from this cocoon, when you exit this transition, you won't just have wings. You'll know how to fly in a way you never knew before. You'll have access to parts of yourself that were dormant. You'll operate at frequencies that were previously blocked. You'll manifest realities that previously seemed impossible. Because you will have become the type of person, the type of being, the type of channel that's capable of sustaining, of anchoring, of living what the universe is preparing to deliver through you. So if you're watching this now, if these words are resonating inside your chest, leave in the comments a simple "I trust the process." Because when you declare this, when you affirm this, you're aligning your consciousness with the truth of what's happening. You're moving out of resistance and into acceptance. You're allowing the magic to happen. And if this video touched something deep in you, if it reminded you of a truth your heart already knew, but your mind had forgotten, click like so more people who need to hear this and find this message. Because maybe there's someone out there today feeling exactly like you, thinking they're failing when actually they're being prepared. And your simple gesture of leaving that like can make this message reach that person. And subscribe to the channel. Because here we talk about these deep truths, these truths that the busy life makes us forget, these truths that the soul recognizes immediately even when the mind does understand, and activate the bell to not miss the next videos where we'll continue exploring together the mysteries of the spiritual journey, the cycles of the soul, and the invisible signs that life is constantly sending you. You know what happens when a tree is about to bear its most abundant fruit. It first withdraws all its sap. It first seems to stop growing. It first enters a state that to untrained eyes looks like dormancy. But what's happening in the roots, what's happening in the invisible branches, is a massive concentration of energy. It's a complete reorganization of resources. Because the tree knows, in its natural wisdom, that to sustain larger, sweeter, more nutritious fruits than any it has produced, before it needs to go deeper, it needs to strengthen its base, it needs to consolidate its internal structure, and that's exactly what's happening to you at this moment. You're going deeper, you're strengthening roots you didn't even know you had, you're developing an internal sustenance so solid, so deep, so unshakable, that when the fruits come, and they will come, you won't just be able to sustain them, you'll thrive with them, you'll flourish in a way that will nourish not only you but everyone around you. And maybe you're wondering how long this will last, how long you'll need to stay in this state, when you'll finally feel that energy return, when you'll finally see the light at the end of the tunnel. And the truth is there's no universal answer to this because each soul has its own rhythm. Each transformation has its own cooking time. Some changes happen in weeks, others take months, some take years. But what I can tell you with absolute certainty is that every day you spend in this apparently stagnant state, every night you go to sleep feeling empty, every morning you wake up not knowing exactly who you are or where you're going, each of these moments is adding a layer of depth to the person you're becoming, is engraving a wisdom in your soul that no book could teach, is giving you a type of understanding of life that can only come to the direct experience of crossing the unknown without a map, without guarantees, with nothing but your trembling faith that there's a greater purpose operating through all of this. Think with me, all the great spiritual masters, all the sages, all those who reach deep levels of understanding and peace, all of them without exception went through desert periods, through dark nights of soul, through moments where they too thought they were losing everything, where they too questioned whether they were on the right path, where they too felt this existential fatigue you're feeling now. Buddha spent years searching before finding enlightenment under the tree Jesus spent 40 days in the desert being tested and refined. All the prophets, all the mystics, all those who brought light to the world, first had to cross their own darkness, first had to be completely emptied of ego, of illusions, of false identifications, so that something greater could be born through them. And you don't need to be a spiritual master or a prophet to go through this initiation, because this is a journey of a human soul. This is a natural path of evolution for anyone who's truly committed to living their most authentic truth, to expressing their highest potential, to embodying the purpose for which they came to this planet. And while you're in this process, while you're in this transition, pay attention to the subtle sign the universe is sending you, because they're there even when it seems like nothing is happening. even when it seems like you're completely alone in this journey. There are synchronicities happening. There are meetings being orchestrated. There are doors being prepared to open at the right time. And sometimes these signs come through a song that plays at the exact moment you needed to hear that message. Sometimes it comes through a random conversation with a stranger who says exactly what your soul needed to hear. Sometimes it comes through vivid dreams that show you fragments of the future being woven. Sometimes it comes through an inexplicable sensation of peace that invades you out of nowhere in the middle of chaos, reminding you that you're being cared for, that you're being guided, that you're not alone even when you feel alone. And these signs of the universe whispering to you, continue, trust, surrender, because something beautiful is forming behind the scenes of your reality. There's something deeply liberating in accepting that you don't need to understand everything now, that you don't need to have clarity about every step, that you don't need to force things to make sense, because life has an intelligence much greater than our rational mind can comprehend. There's a cosmic choreography happening where every pause, every detour, every apparent setback is actually positioning you perfectly for the next quantum leap of your journey. And when you stop fighting this choreography, when you stop trying to control every detail, when you simply surrender the flow, something magical happens. You begin to perceive that life isn't happening to you. It's happening through you. You're a co-creator of this dance and not a victim of it. And even in this period of apparent weakness, you're exercising your deepest power, which is the power to trust, to surrender, to allow something greater than your ego to operate through your existence. And you know, what's interesting, often people on the outside looking at your life have no idea what you're going through. They see you functioning, see you smiling, see you fulfilling your obligations, but they don't see the internal battle. Don't see the monumental efforts requiring of you simply get out of bed some days. Don't see the tears you shed when you're alone. Don't see the conversations you have with yourself in the middle of the night, trying to find strength to continue. And this can make you feel even more isolated, even more misunderstood. But here is the truth you need to know. This internal journey doesn't need to be validated externally. This transformation you're crossing doesn't need to make sense to anyone but you, because this is your soul recalibrating, your essence realigning, your truth refining, and this is a sacred and intimate process that happens between you and the universe, between you and your own internal divinity, and no one else needs to understand or approve of it for it to be valid, to be real, to be absolutely transformative. Now, I want you to consider something that can completely change your perspective on this moment. What if what you're feeling isn't you losing strength, but rather you gaining sensitivity? What if you're not weakening, but rather becoming more refined, more attuned, more capable of perceiving nuances of reality that before you completely ignored? Think of a musical instrument when it's tuned, when its strings are adjusted. There's a period where it can be played the same way, where it needs to, stabilize in the new frequency, where playing the old notes with the old force will simply detune everything again. So the musician needs to wait, needs to have patience, needs to allow the instrument to settle in a new tuning. And then when they finally play again, the sound that comes out is completely different. It's purer, clearer, more harmonious, more capable of creating music that touches the soul of those who listen. And you're that instrument being tuned now. Your frequencies are being adjusted. Your vibration is being calibrated. And yes, this causes discomfort. Yes, this requires pause. Yes, this seems like weakness. But the final result will be a version of you capable of creating a life music so beautiful, so authentic, so aligned with your truth, that people feel it just from being near you. And perhaps the most challenging part of all this is the uncertainty, is not knowing exactly what's coming, not having guarantees, not being able to see a complete picture. Because we human beings love certainty, love control, love knowing exactly where we're stepping. But true spiritual growth requires you to walk in faith, to take steps without seeing the entire staircase, to trust the process even when every fiber of your logical mind is screaming that this doesn't make sense. And this capacity to trust the invisible, to believe in what you can't yet see, to maintain faith when all external evidence suggests giving up, this is one of the most powerful abilities you can develop. Because when you master this, when you truly embody this, you become unstoppable, not in the sense that nothing bad will happen, but in the sense that nothing that happens will be able to take you out of your center, your balance, your deep confidence that you're exactly where you need to be, learning exactly what you need to learn, becoming exactly who you need to become. So let me ask you a question that may seem strange, but is deeply important. What if you're already living the preparation of the miracle you've been asking for? What if the answer to all your prayers is already in motion, but you don't recognize it because you're so focused on the discomfort of the present that you can't see the gears of the future aligning? What if every person who left your life left an open space for the right people who are coming? What if every door that closed because you were trying to force entry into places that were no longer for you? What if every plan that crumbled because the universe is bigger, better plans, more aligned with who you really are and not with who you thought you should be? Can you feel how this shift in perspective completely transforms the meaning of what you're living? Suddenly you're no longer a victim of circumstances. You're an active participant in a divine transformation. Suddenly your fatigue is no longer a problem to be solved, but rather a natural symptom of profound metamorphosis. Suddenly everything makes sense even without making sense, because you understand there's a wisdom operating that goes far beyond your limited comprehension, and you can relax in that wisdom. You can rest in that trust. You can release control and allow life to surprise you in the best possible way. Let me tell you something that very few people understand. The most transformative moments of your life are rarely the moments of great action, of great achievement, of great external movement. The most transformative moments are always the moments of great silence, of great stillness, of great surrender. They're the moments where you're not doing anything but being everything, where you're not conquering anything but becoming everything, where apparently nothing is happening, but actually everything is changing. And these moments are precious, they're sacred, they're the moments that define the rest of your journey. So don't rush them, don't judge them, don't compare them with the action moments of other people, because each person has their own journey. Each soul has its own curriculum, and what you're learning now in this silence, in this pause, in this preparation, are lessons you'll carry forever, are tools you'll use for the rest of your life, are wisdoms that will guide you through any future storm, because you'll remember that you already crossed the unknown before, already survived uncertainty before, already emerged from darkness before. So you can do it again and again and again as many times as necessary. So if you made it this far in this video, if you heard every word and felt them resonate in your soul, this is no coincidence. You were guided to this message because your soul needed to hear this today, needed to be reminded that you're not losing anything. You're gaining everything. You're not failing. You're evolving. You're not being abandoned. You're being prepared. And I need you to leave in the comments now, not just I trust the process, but also what you most desire to manifest when you exit this preparation phase. Because when you declare this, when you put in words, you're planting a seed in the quantum field. You're telling the universe, I'm ready, I accept, I allow. And this declaration has power, has energy, has a capacity to accelerate the materialization process of what's being prepared for you. And if you really felt this message touch deeply, share this video with someone you know needs to hear this. Because maybe you're the messenger. Maybe you're the channel through which this person will receive exactly the sign they were asking for. And give a like, subscribe, activate the bell. Because the more people connect with these truths, the stronger the collective field of transformation becomes, the easier it becomes for each of us to cross our own transitions. And together we're creating a new frequency on this planet, a frequency of trust, of surrender, of faith in the sacred process of life. And you're an essential part of this. You who are watching now, you who are in the middle of your own preparation, you are vital, you are necessary, you are loved by the universe in ways you can't even comprehend. So keep breathing, keep trusting, keep walking even without seeing a complete path, because you're being guided, always have been, always will be, and what's coming for you is bigger, more beautiful, more perfect than you can imagine now.